I'm a graduate student at the University of San Francisco, currently pursuing energy system management program. Before I go further with the presentation of our topic today, I would like to give a brief background of my research, which I've done in my first master's. Well, I do have a background in energy, and I've been in the energy academia for almost a decade. I started my bachelor's in Africa at the Jala University of Sierra Leone, where I did energy studies. Then I got a scholarship, the Chinese government scholarship. I then pursued master's studies and new energy science and engineering at the Kwajong University of Technology. I work with the State Laboratory of Coal Combustion in Wuhan, the famous Wuhan you all know. Then today, I want to talk about something dear to my heart, and besides, my purpose at the San Francisco University is to deal on policy, because what motivated me to do another master's was for my first master's research. I found out that like most of these driven things towards energy, it needs to be implemented by the government. And how can we achieve that as a person, as we all have had speakers from the first session talking about sustainability, AI, but if the government does not support, there is nothing we can do. So today, I'm here to talk about the topic, combating energy poverty in Sub-Saharan Africa. I would like to start to say Africa is a continent and not a country, because most people, when they talk about Africa, they will think, oh, Africa is a country. They always think as China, but Africa is a country that's made up of so many countries. And we have seen a lot of vulnerability happening in Africa, and the Millennium Development Goals. I've seen this, and I've also talked about like something we need to do. We need to create a change. And the change that we need to create is like we need to get to combat energy sustainability. So for today's presentation, we are going to have a content that I'm going to do the introduction, and we have to see the overview of the current energy situation in the region. Because as scientists, as engineers, we're not just going to talk, oh, these are the vulnerable groups without showing data, because data speaks fact and it speaks volume. So from then, we are going to see the challenges, the consequences, and the future directions. If to everything, we need to have the fundamental roots, and we see the implications that those things create. And as sustainability leaders that we are, we're not just going to see those things without coming up with innovative solutions. So the next one, we have to see some case studies that the African countries have done towards combating this energy poverty. Then our final takeaway. So from the United Nations on energy poverty, do any one of us know like what energy poverty is without looking? Anybody? Oh, okay, maybe it's the first time. Well, energy poverty, it has diverse definition, because when you talk of energy poverty, somebody may say, what's energy poverty? Energy poverty does not have one definition. It's, the European Union may have its own definition of what energy poverty is. The UN has their own definition. But for today, we are going to look at the UN definition of energy poverty, because the UN is the umbrella body that governs us all. The UN says that energy poverty is lack of access or not having energy at all. What does this mean? It just means that there are some people or there are some group in different places in the world that do not even have this access to energy. So somebody might say, really, what does that? Well, because it is factual, when they come up with the Millennium Development Goals, Goal 7.1 says, ensure access, not just to energy, but to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, which showcase equity. So with this, they take it as something important, as something like the world needs to know, as a kind of crucial condition we need to solve. At one time, the United Nations Secretary General says we have energy appetite. So because of this, they created this, one of the Millennium Development Goals was to create solutions to energy. Now the question is, how do we measure energy poverty? There are various metrics being used. There is no one metric because it also differs from region or from countries to countries. But for the sake of this presentation, we are going to look at the energy ladder. In terms of income, we'll see how people income changes. That's how their energy resource changes. From the first one, we see people, when they have a very low income, they tend to use crop waste. From there, the ladder just go like as if you are doing snake and ladder. It moves up to charcoal, it goes up to coal, kerosene, ethanol, and the last one is electricity. Most of us here in the United States, we just turn on the gas, we start our cooking. In most regions, it's not the case. People suffer a lot. While I was reading this, like in Serbia, European Union, there were some concessions made by the Parliament and the United Nations Women because most of the time when it comes to energy, women and children are the ones suffering. And most people do not know that when they say access to energy, it also includes clean cooking. They just thought like, okay, maybe I just need to get a fuel. I just need the fuel for manufacturing. But I tell you, it also includes clean cooking. So that's the reason why we have the energy ladder that indicates the dominant energy source for cooking and eating. Let's go to the next one and see. Now we're going to have the overview of the current energy situation in the region. So from this pictorial evidence, the first one, we see like the satellite map taken by NASA. And these give a demographic illustration of what energy poverty is. Because from the picture, you can tell like the whole place is illuminated. I don't know if you guys, anyone can tell which map is this. Well, this map is Africa map. While you can see all the other places is illuminating, here part of it, like most parts, is in dark condition. And how many people are in Africa continent? How many people are in Sub-Shara? So from the next presentation, the next slides, you will see exactly what does this map really tell. It tells a lot that we have vulnerable people living in this. It is dark. And we know when they say there is no light, the implications, the impact it has on various sectors. On the other map, it shows like the map of Africa, and these are the countries that fall within the Sub-Sahara region. So let's go to the next and see exactly the situation. In this, these are the number of people without access to electricity by region from 2010 to 2023. The International Energy Agency come up with these maps, come up with data, because ever since they need to calculate, they need to check, because this is how they will be able to determine the poverty rate, how what has been done so far, because we all are talking about technology, people are talking about AI, about this. But are those, can we really achieve the AI achievement? Can we really achieve sustainability with this type of data? And remember, we have this Millennium Development Goal, SDG 7 says by 2030, we're supposed to achieve equity in energy. Is this possible? I don't think so, because this data is screening. I need help. You guys need to come up with solutions. From this data, you can see that 774 million people live without access to electricity. This is recent from the 2022 data. And from this graph, you can see it showcases, like in 2022, the Sub-Saharan Africa, 599.8 million people live without accessing electricity. And from the other one, we see 598.8 million. What does this show? What does this tell for humanity? It means a lot. So if we all have these dreams of coming up with solutions, green building, concrete, we have the AI as we are all fascinated about. What about those vulnerable people? And the end game is like we need to achieve this carbon mitigation. A lot of things are going on, and we are now seeing transition into a clean and renewable energy. Like in California, where I'm coming from, we've seen a lot of proposals from the CPUC, the California Public Utility, has come up with kind of a goal by 2030, the entire California should go into EV. And that's the dream of not only US, China, and other countries. But with these facts, I don't think we can really achieve. But Africa itself is the continent that has the mineral deposit of 38%. We're talking about battery storage for EV. We're talking about energy storage. Most of the cobalt is coming from Africa. We're talking about Africa like exporting 8% of the fuel resource or the reserve. But yet, Africa is still buying crude oil from those. And we have a large amount of energy deposit. So let's see exactly what the next one will say. From this is also a shared population with access to electricity. The rest of the world is at 90.2%, but Sub-Saharan Africa is like 49%, which is almost a laughable kind of situation, and it's something like we are not really doing as much as people, or we are not concerned. A lot of this 3 mitigation, the COP22, COP23 that is oncoming, we need to see a lot of change in this, because if we want to really achieve a change, we're supposed to change the world. We do not just supposed to change developed countries or else, like it means we've not achieved really what the goal is. Here, it gives annual reduction in number of people without access to electricity by region. From this graph, you will see a progress made by some countries or some region, like we have developing Asia is growing rapidly. But when it comes to Sub-Saharan Africa, sometimes it's like we are declining, going down the drain. You can see the data. And when the COVID hit, like 2019, 2022, instead of going up, it's massive declination. And this is terrible. This is why like I'm here today, like so that we can discuss about this, come up with innovative solutions, because I know we all are masterminded people. We have great ideas. We have good companies that can create that change and impact. So 2022, when the COVID pandemic hit, we all see the tremendous change of the world. And we see like maybe that was the first time, in fact, I was in China in Wuhan when this thing happened. First time when the CO2 carbon records come out, it was the first time the world hit like the least carbon emissions. So from this data, we now go to how does these people, the challenges that these vulnerable people face, and what are the consequences, and how are we, the innovative leaders, the world business leaders, create this change that will be the future direction. We have the contributing factor to energy poverty in Sub-Saharan Africa. It is crucial that really, to whatever circumstances you face, there must be a cause or a reason towards that. And the first one, in anything you do, you have to talk about like what the causes are. Lack of infrastructure. Infrastructure is the main concern and the main reason. We cannot talk about like having electricity access with having dilapidated structures or without having inefficient transition line. So we have seen like in Sub-Saharan Africa, we have the inadequate grid coverage. Like most of the people in the rural areas cannot access energy. This is due to the transmission line cannot be reached, and it's also in an ineffective state. So another one is like the infrastructure decay. Since the 90s, no changes has been done. And immensely, population do grow. So as the population grows, these are the times like maybe we need to create a change. Changes needs to be made with the transition line in the grid system and in everything we do. So the next one is like corruption. Most times it is believed that embezzlement, nobody wants to take accountability. They go with like a kind of a project. Sometimes the bureaucracy embezzle the fund, like having percentage to achieve those things. And at the end of the day, the person that wants the contract like needs a profit. So what happens? Like they use goods, materials that are not sustainable. So from time goes, the project will collapse and there will be no effect in the lives of the people. Then another one is like financial resources. There is no project without finance. In everything, in every success, is finance. We need the lack of finance, the financial resources, low income level, economic disparity, government budget constraints. Sometimes the government can say, no, I can't do it all. Maybe I need the private partners to come in and to see how it goes. Like now in the solar industries, a lot here in the United States, is immensely by the private sectors. But what is giving them that courage is like a lot of incentives, a lot of finances. Like if you go into doing the energy industry, this is what you can achieve, like things that can attract people to invest in energy. The last one I have here is like political and social instability. This is a big cause that is affecting Sub-Saharan Africa because government is continuing. Most of this time, like a government in power or in position can have these immense goals for giving energy. But when like maybe the next successor comes, because it's not their own way or their own preposition, they will say, oh no, we are going to cancel that. So the trend, like the policies change, the priority change. So these are like the factors. These are there are many other factors, but these are the ones that stand out for me, so I brought it up. So the next one, what are the consequences? This is huge because the consequences are the things that impact the people in this vulnerable region. The first consequences I would like to highlight is the health. I mentioned a few minutes ago about clean cooking. Most of these sub-Saharan countries, when it comes to cooking, they are using traditional biomass. And using traditional biomass, a lot of pollution, a lot of toxic air people do breathe. And once you breathe that, like you have a lot of health issues that comes about. So the next one, you have limited access to healthcare. For example, we are like a lot of technologies for the diagnosis of health conditions. We have vaccines that need technology for refrigeration, we have the MRI scan. Now imagine if a country cannot access energy. What is the fate of those people living there? It causes like premature death. Sometimes, like I could remember back when I was in China, I undergo a surgical process. So I was on my recovery bed there, lying, scrolling through social media. I came across a post when I saw one of the a particular lady that just graduated from the university passed away. And what was the cause? According to the story that was told, is like the lady passed away during the surgical process, the same process that I undergo at that time. They said there was electricity cut out. It was a tragic moment because it could have been me. It could have been any person, any member of my family, but it is a member of a citizen of my country. So it resonates with me. So that's why I said, like, whenever I have the time, I have the opportunity, I need to speak up because we need more people like me and leaders like you to come up with those topics to discuss it. It's not like, oh no, it's not my fault. It's not my business. It's not like my continent. It involves us all because imagine Africa as the youngest population in the world. We are talking about sustainability, about AI. What will be our future if those people living in vulnerable conditions are having poor health? Second, education and production. AI. How many people are there in Sub-Saharan Africa that can resonate, in fact, with AI? Education nowadays is like we talk of technology. In having good quality education, you have to do experiments. You have to read at night. The library needs to be equipped. We've seen a lot of like drastic changes that have been happening. So all those things are like the things that we need to like contribute to in order to have a very good future for those vulnerable groups. Lack of economy is also another thing because we know energy is the running blood of every nation. Without energy, obviously the economy will be in a very poor condition. You check the economic status of Sub-Saharan Africa, it is draining. It is like not in a very good position. Impact on immigration and immigration. This is factual. We all see like most times people are moving when they cannot have access because energy has a touch in all other aspects. So people tend to move into various regions or countries that they know they can have access to health, access to better education, access to quality life. The last one is the impact on women and children, which affect their health because when it comes to like cooking in the house or providing energy in the house, it is mostly done by women. So what are the solutions or the future directions? Customization is the first key for me and is the fundamental because sometimes you see these countries, they just borrowed policies from because, oh, United States is doing it, we can copy the same thing. When fighting the transition of energy, California is doing great, US is doing great, China is doing great, but copying or the exact same thing is not efficient for us. So we've seen the first one is we need to like expand our infrastructure so it can reach out every country, like it can be for mini grids and also for off-grid solutions. Then another one is financial inclusion and innovative financing. As we mentioned, like we need financial aspects, and the African Development Bank has been doing a great job when it comes to this. And they said like we need 22 billion annually, and from that amount, they have gotten only 15%. So that's the reason why we are also seeing this negative impact on energy. The next one is renewable energy and energy efficiency initiatives. Africa or continent or sub-Saharan Africa has the renewable potential, the untapped potential to even produce its energy for itself. So we have a lot of potential like hydro, the solar, the geothermal. And the next one is promote grid interconnectivity among regions. Sometimes like a particular region or a particular country within this has enormous potential. So now having this grid system, you can have a connectivity in which you can share your electricity among regions. And a special case study was done by a particular university in China that shows this type of effect. Then the next one, this has the most impact, which is policy, regulations, and government. When it comes to energy, it needs the support of strong policies and with the government backing. Like the government support, for example, is like encouraging people to come into the energy sectors, providing incentives, forming strong policies institution that can tolerate or that can come out with like energy codes, building codes, all those things. Those are the things that can impact the right change of energy and can create energy accessibility. The last one is education and energy advocacy. This is vital because without education, you are limited. But with education, you have the right platform in order for you to talk and then showcase your skill, and then you can be able to create the change in your particular region or country in which you are coming from. The case studies. We have the particular project, the Lingala concentrated solar power project that is in South Africa. They have done like a 100 megawatt, and this has been tremendously well, has impacted 800,000 homes. So this short kind of project like really impact the lives of the people, and it creates the change. It gives reduction in terms of energy poverty. This is just like a pictorial evidence to show. And here we have like the hydroelectric project that will be one of the biggest in the world, because currently China, the Three Gorges Dam, is the biggest hydro. But when this hydro construction is being done, it will produce 40,000 megawatts. And this can also supply neighboring countries and can immensely reduce the energy poverty. What will be the final conclusion? The final conclusion is to encourage each and every one of us to come, bring out our innovative ideas, our sustainability ideas, to invest into these regions, to create the change, to impact them so we can reduce the energy poverty in which they are currently facing and help vulnerable groups. Thank you.
Wow, that's some pretty powerful stuff. Things we take for granted. And you have 800 million people without power. That's kind of crazy. All right, so it's been a long day. We're ready to do a reception.